afternoon, people. It's Ritchie from Anti-Corruption Scotland TV. I've got Robess here with us today. We're going to cover a subject surrounding constable officer and also the duties and obligation and the constable's oath of office as a constable. But firstly, just like to welcome you.
Thanks,
Robert.
Ritchie, thank you. Good to be
Coming
here
back.
again.
We were at an event. I would just like to mention this before we go any further. We were at an event in Glasgow, in Buchanan Street, on the 8th of October, and it was the British Lions for Freedom group, who, I wouldn't say organised it because it wasn't an organised event as such, but there was a peaceful gathering there, and these people had a lot to do with it. They set up a lot of mics, they put a lot of hard work in, they come up here from down south, they've done a lot of hard work. It was a really successful event. Just want to thank these people for coming up here.
I'd like to thank them as well because they gave me an opportunity to speak and let me be heard, and I was happy to do that because I kind of lifted the crowd and gave them a boost before they marched through the city centre, so I was buzzing with that.
There was a bit of thought went into it as well with some great speakers there, with Michelle Brennan, who is a great speaker, speaks for the heart. We had other speakers there, we had some music there, we had the two most important speakers for me were the people who were vaccine damaged. A guy called John Watt, who if you ever see his video, it's very emotional. But you know what, the guy's come out, he's come out into Glasgow, he stood up and he's trying to open people's eyes about vaccines. He's been hurt and he doesn't want to see anybody else like this, and he's got a major grudge against the system for it and all these corporations like the government. So I'd like to say thanks to him as well, personal thanks to him for coming along and speaking, and also Alex Mitchell, who's a scaffolder. I'm a scaffolder. I know what this guy's done for a living, Alex, before he took the vaccine. Took the vaccine because he thought he was doing the right thing, and what's actually happened is he's had his leg amputated, which is absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. Why is this vaccine not been stopped? You've got to ask yourself. I've spoke to Alex and hopefully we'll get him on the show at some point. So, but we just need to say again, thanks to Alex for his talk as well, because two mind-blowing talks, and we really appreciate it, and we appreciate all the work that the British Lions for Freedom put in as well. Thanks very much for coming up, and I think you feel the same, Robert.
100%.
We look forward to
seeing them again, support them any way we can.
Great people, and we'll support these anytime. Thanks very much for that. Just had to say that, and give them their place, because it was such a good event, and it brought a lot of different groups for Scotland together, and that was the most important thing here as well.
Definitely.
So we want to go on and speak about constable and officer. Now, I've got a document here. I need to put my glasses on. I struggle to read otherwise. So this is from the 2nd Division Inner House Court of Session. So basically this is the three main judges, three highest judges in Scotland, Robert, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
And they've come together, and the reason they've come together in the inner house is because there was police constables who were sending data and information, pictures, etc. via WhatsApp and their private phones. And that's a breach of the Data Protection Act. These constables were dealt with in court, but one of the questions that arose in court was, what exactly is a police constable's duties and obligations?
That's right, yes.
Right. And from that case came this document that was created. Now, the 2014 regulations, standards and associated legislative regime, the standards provided as follows: standards of professional conduct. Now, this is the standards of professional conduct for a police constable. Now, one of the reasons we picked this topic today as well is because we are seeing people in the street, we're seeing people in videos, and we always say never call a police constable an officer.
That's correct.
For the simple reason that, understanding, an officer gives you an offer.
That's right, they're drawing you into the legal, they're treating you as a person because they can't interact with a man or woman. because it goes against the principles of corporate employee.
So always call them a constable, and
Always.
that way they know that you're in a different jurisdiction.
That's right.
You're not in the legal system, you're in the common law system.
That's right.
We live in the land. It's a law of the land, it's not the law of the
That's
sea.
right.
Which
And there is common law, because I've recently had a case dropped, it was a common law charge. So
Well,
for people
right.
that's out there mouthing off that there is no common law, it's a nonsense, and I'm verifying it.
Aye.
Even under a charge of perjury, as I always do.
Yep, no, that's fantastic. So one of the first standards from the 2014 regulations is honesty and integrity. Now, constables are honest, act with integrity, and do not compromise or abuse their position. What's your thoughts on that, Robert?
Well, the dealings I've had with the last 2 court cases is that isn't true. And I'm not knocking all constables. There's good people in every part of the system. It's just following orders, right? But that's no excuse to break the law. But when it came to my position, I was arrested twice for standing in the street telling the truth. There was no victim. There was nobody made a claim saying they were harmed, loss or injury. But they made a presumption I was a person, arrested me, firstly on 2 acts, under a charge with 2 acts, and the second case was a common law charge. And it was wrong, because these people were prepared to get into court and lie. Because to be a crime, there has to be in their language a victim or a man or a woman that has suffered a harm, loss or injury. And that was not the case. And when you get into these places, they're officers, they're no constables. There's trickery in the court system. When they get in there, they're asked by the man or woman on the bench to swear and tell them what their job position is. They always say they're a constable, but they switch the status in the court. And people that don't understand the courts don't understand what's going on, and they fall right into the legal trap with the legalese and the trickery.
Thanks. So, honesty, integrity, there's good and bad out there. We know that.
100%.
So there is constables out there who are in breach of their oath, and we'll cover the oath shortly, because the oath comes up shortly. The next standard is in respects to authority, respect and courtesy. So constables act with the self-control and tolerance, treating members of the public and colleagues with respect and courtesy. Again, I'm going to ask you your thoughts on this, Robert. That's just one section. Well, what I'll do is I'll continue reading and then finish the rest of it. Constables do not abuse their power or authority and respect the rights of all individuals. Can I have your thoughts on that one?
Well, there's 2 sets of rights. There's the legal rights, the human rights created by the legal system, legal society. People think that they have human rights, but if you take something to an administrative court, and including the High Court as an administrative court, you are saying that your human rights have been breached. They determine by their authority, because you're walking into their jurisdiction, they have control as you as a person, a corporation, that you've had your rights breached or not. But men and women have inalienable and inherent rights. There's a difference, and the people have to research and learn this. You have rights, end of. No human rights, you have rights, and that's the bottom line, people.
Thank you. Equality and diversity. Constables act with fairness and impartiality. They do not discriminate unlawfully or unfairly. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the time I was arrested in Argyle Street, I was discriminated against, because when I was speaking, I was not swearing. I was making the point and being heard. But a lot of people that took the equipment, the mic, were cussing and swearing, and I've approached them a few times and told me stop. Now, when I was arrested, it was my understanding up to an hour and a half to 2 hours after I was arrested and took away their corporate place of business, these people were still standing in the street. So why? We're all doing the same thing, talking about different topics.
Yep.
Why were they not arrested? They've done the same as myself. They said it was my fault, I was putting everybody at risk.
Yep.
Everybody was putting everybody at risk because we're all standing together. So that's discrimination, clear discrimination, and they've breached their oath because they've discriminated against myself. And the beauty is, the 2 cases have been dropped. Now, the corporation known as Crown is out the picture. Well, they're not out the picture, but that leaves liability on the police, because they've now arrested a man, falsely charged, committed fraud, criminal conversion in the name, and they're now liable. The men and women in their uniforms, not the constable or officer, and this is a bit people have to understand. It's men and women in the uniform that commits the harm, and that's it. There's no escape. so I'm going after them in their private capacity. And let me tell you, I'm going after them because as I've told people time and time again, I've been doing this 11 and a half years. My family's been destroyed with this system, and I'm taking it no more. That's why I'm so determined. Every time they come at me, I come straight back at them, and I will not back down. I'm right, they're wrong.
Yep. This next one goes side by side with your arrest, or the two arrests that you had for just speaking in the street, and that's the use of force. Constables use force only to the extent that it is necessary, proportionate and reasonable in all the circumstances. So the use of force you see being abused quite regular with police constables now, whether it's just because they're inexperienced constables or they assume and presume somebody's going to be violent. Perhaps they get a bit scared themselves and they try to use that bit of extra force. But what's your thoughts on that and the use of force?
Well, the use of force is diabolical because you see people standing in the street. I've seen videos and other things where a man's standing, doing nothing, just defying an order. They're ordering him to lie down. He's not doing it, so they taser him. That's unreasonable force. He's not running, he's not attacking him, he's not being violent. And then you see constables grabbing maybe somebody drunk, 5 of them sitting on top of him, their knee at the top of the neck, the arms twisted up the back, the legs are crossed, and the guy's in substantial pain, and he's not resisting. I actually think there's a good few, not all constables, right? Not all men that works for the entity known as Police Scotland or any other police force. There's some of them out there thrive on using force because they can get away with it. And it can't be they think because they do what they do, they work for a legal system, a legal society, that they can do what they want. Well, they can't. We're all equal in the eyes of the law, and they're causing a delict under Scots law when they do it in Scotland to a man or a woman. They're not doing it to a person because a person doesn't exist. And this is what people have to comprehend, right? See, people need to pay attention to what people like myself are telling them because it's coming from first-hand knowledge, and I'm verifying it, even under a charge of perjury, as I keep saying. There's nobody else that I know verifies it under a charge of perjury. I've never heard it.
That's basically, you know, rather than putting a disclaimer out, you're saying if there is a problem.
Like, bring it on. Bring it on. I'll take it on.
Yep, so the next one is, next standard is regarding orders and instructions. Now, constables give and carry out only lawful orders and instruction. This we could talk about all day.
Exactly, it's no lawful orders, it's
Because
legal orders.
You said earlier that the police were saying that, these police constables were saying that you were putting people at risk. At risk of what? Because you're all standing together.
COVID.
Right. Now, is COVID lawful? Is it, you know, does it exist?
Exactly.
Does it even exist?
And evidence
Or
right
was
now
it
is
just-
pointing out it doesn't.
Or is it just propaganda to scare people?
That's what it is. It's a fear tactic.
To carry out and enforce an agenda?
A narrative.
Aye.
It's a worldwide narrative.
Aye.
It's all over the world. It's not just here in Scotland or England, Ireland or Wales. This is about controlling every part of the population worldwide.
Yep. And see with this one as well, I remember if you can take it back to, there was a guy with a can of beer standing in George Square. You were there.
That's right.
Murray was there and I was there. There was a few others for the group were there. And this guy was for England. You can openly have a can of beer in England if you want. That law only exists here, or that presumption or colour of
It's
law
all about money.
only exists in Scotland. And this guy was having a can of beer, and he's like, what do you mean I can't have a drink in the street? Now, for me that's unlawful, because he said he didn't consent. I do not consent, right? He'd already told them that. That was clarified when Murray and you were standing there, and he says, do you consent to this? And the man said, no, I don't consent. Now, I sat and watched an inspector with her hands folded, staring at that constable. And beside her was a sergeant sitting staring at that constable. And that told me
They were lying.
they were just forcing this guy to go and give this man a ticket, an unlawful ticket, which is basically an unlawful order from these
That's right.
sergeant and this inspector. These are the two constables. And to see it, I thought, he's actually carrying out an unlawful order because he's under pressure from an inspector and a sergeant.
That's right.
And I actually walked away with a video on that constable saying, this is terrible. You shouldn't have done this. This is unlawful. But he wouldn't speak to me. He just wouldn't speak to me. He wouldn't take me on because he knew what he'd done was wrong.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So, duties and responsibilities. So constables are diligent in the exercise of their duties and responsibilities. Confidentiality. Constables treat information with respect and access or disclose it only in the proper course of their duties. Now this obviously came up because of the court case.
Right, well, on that bit there, it's a contradictory because they're not protecting data, they're sharing it. So they're actually breaking the law. And it's actually clear as day in this document. They're saying you shouldn't do that, but they've done it.
Yep.
And they think they can do it because they can get away with it because they're part of a legal system, a legal society. And this is a bit, legal has nothing to do with men and women. And people have to pick up on this. It's to do with the person that's attached to the man or woman.
Yep.
And that's the bottom line. That's as simple as it can be.
Yep.
As I said before, if people think they're a person, go to a psychologist or the nearest health professional, get a mental health assessment because you're dead. And if you're dead, how can you be walking about talking?
Exactly. What I would suggest is, see when people actually watch these podcasts, see when they're watching them, see when we say, I would suggest that people go and they get a dictionary or go into the computer and just type in person and see what it actually states a person is.
It's a corporation,
just
an entity.
look at it. It's a corporation, an entity, a separate existence.
That's right. Independent existence.
Company.
That's company. That's what it is.
It's all these things. That's what it tells you. And now, how can you be that if you're a flesh and blood man or woman? So, I would suggest stop the video just now, grab a dictionary, or look it up on your phone or whatever, you know, and check it out and see if I'm lying, because it's there. This is facts.
I've proved the point in the court.
These are facts we're giving. This isn't information for fun. It's being verified in your own private capacity under full personal liability. So fitness for duty. Constables, when on duty or presenting themselves for duty, are fit to carry out their responsibilities. Now, even just no wearing a hat.
That's right. Well, that's the thing. I've seen it time and time again. Every time they come to my door, they wear a hat. If you watch them in the street when they're walking beside marches, they're wearing their hats. Now, I remember a way back when the police was chasing somebody, they dropped their hat, they had to stop, go get it. Right? But they've got to expand, because that same now, when they don't wear their hat, they're no constables. That same in capacity as officers, and that's the trickery. When they come to your door without a hat, they're out of uniform. I've done it myself. They came to my car one time when I was having a dispute about road tax, and I says, before you speak to me, constable, you better go back to your car and get your hats. And that's exactly what they did. They said, you're not in full uniform. And they came back with their hats on. And they were told they were constables and they accepted it.
I think if they understand you know what you're talking about, then they're less likely to kind of push the legal system.
There's very limited people out there. They know what they're talking about.
Yep. So that's the fitness for duty, and obviously you see some constables as well, and you think, well, how did they?
Because they're
small.
There used to be a set weight,
I'm not exactly Daley Thompson myself, but
it's just like they've dragged people off the street and says, "Here, put that uniform on." Because you see a lot of them like Laurel and Hardy.
Right. Okay. Discriminable conduct. All right. Constables behave in a manner which does not discredit the police service or undermine police confidence in it, whether or not off duty. Constables report any actions taken against them for a criminal offence, any conditions imposed on them by a court, or the receipt of any penalty notices. Challenging and reporting conduct. Sorry, that's the next one. So, yeah, I don't believe that every police constable that swears an oath is an angel.
Well, the thing of the matter is, if you look at the things in the last couple of years, the amount of sergeants, inspectors, constables downloading images of sons and daughters, using violence, family abuse, and you don't see it in the media because they're hiding it, because they've got to look at it's all part of the legal system, legal society, they've got to hide. So it doesn't discredit it, and that's what they do. And if it comes out, it's really hard for them, because if you can't trust some man or woman that's supposed to be protecting the people under common law, they shouldn't be wearing a uniform. And they're a danger. Any man or woman in a uniform as a constable or officer, inspector, sergeant, in that capacity, the statuses, That's diabolical for even the kind of people to consider doing stuff like that. It's wrong.
Yep. So challenging and reporting improper conduct. Constables report challenge to take action against the conduct of other constables which has fallen below the standard of professional behaviour. Now, just a couple of minutes ago in this podcast that I've actually just said, I sat and watched an inspector and a sergeant basically watching a constable carrying out an unlawful order, effectively, because this man said he doesn't consent, but he still gave him a ticket. And I had a meeting with a police constable. There was a couple of us had a meeting with a police constable, a well-known ex-police constable. We had a meeting with him and we actually showed him the video, and he couldn't actually believe that police constables in Scotland carry a ticket machine with them.
I know.
He couldn't believe it. And he says, how obvious and corporate is that when you've actually got the ticket machine there and you give it to the man or the woman, it's there at the time. He couldn't believe it.
Exactly.
And for me, that discredits the police. And these, as far as I'm concerned, it was unlawful what he was doing. His sergeant was there. She was watching. The inspector was there. She was watching. And they two ranks allowed that to happen. And that's not right.
Especially with the amount of policy was running one guy for a can of beer.
Aye.
There were about 10, 15 of them.
Well, yes. Aye, they just seem to appear from nowhere, and it just seemed to do it. And you could see it was corporate bullying.
That's what it is, corporate bullies.
Okay, so the relevant oath was in the following terms, right? So we need to ensure that people understand that this is for Scotland.
That's right, it's definitely Scotland. Other jurisdictions, Ireland, England and Wales have different rules, regulations and policies. This video here is relevant to the people of Scotland, and this is the police constable's oath. It's not an officer. There is no officer in this oath. It's constable, and that's why I say I'll explain it at the end for 2 seconds what the difference is.
Aye. Okay, so the oath is, I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of constable with fairness, integrity, diligence and impartiality, and that I will uphold fundamental rights and accord equal respect to all people according to law. That's the oath there. Now, they're saying they will solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that they will faithfully discharge the duties of office of constable.
Right.
They don't swear an oath to being an officer.
They can't, because there's 2 statuses. Right. One is under common law.
Yep.
Stand uphold the common law.
Yep.
Their job is lawful. Corporate and policy enforcer is when they wear the green bibs or the green jackets. The other day, where there was a controversy, and I kind of went up to sort it out.
This was at the event on the 8th of October.
That's right, the 8th of October.
Yep.
And what happened is, I went up, but I kept addressing the woman in the uniform as constable, and she was trying to ignore the fact that I was addressing her. But to cut the long story short, we sorted the matter out. But what was happening is, with certain people at the stairs, after we pacified things, explained what a banner was and what it meant, everything was fine, and people were mocking them after I put my head in the chopping block to bail them out of a situation to get in by saying bye-bye, ta-ta. You don't do that, people. The legal system, legal society, sheriff officers, court, everything, social workers, social services, they work on controversy. That's what gets you into court. Yep. Controversy. You have to stand in honour. You have to keep the cool and try and speak to them on a level term. Remember, the biggest majority of these people, including police officers, police constables, don't know what we know. We have to educate them. Their superiors and their corporations are lying to them, and they don't know that, because they're just order followers. And this is where we have to nip it in the bud. We have to keep our cool, stand in honour, and educate these people so they understand. Because when I spoke about what the banner meant, that's what she said. The constable says, that's all I wanted to know. What was the initials on the banner? What did that mean? That was that. Problem solved. But you've got people going out their way, slamming their faces in their faces, shouting abuse at them. Yep. And we can't have that, because that puts people like me and my colleague Ritchie in danger of getting to jail with them, because if they decide to call an emergency call and they come charging up and they're going to grab bodies, we're two of the first suspects that's gone tatas, and it's no our doing, we're only there to try and resolve. So remember, people, don't argue with them. Speak on level terms, speak quiet, and show a bit of courtesy, and you'll get it back. Miss the word controversy, get that in your head. Don't use the controversy, because it's going to get you into trouble, and they'll just arrest you and drag you away. End of story. Whether you're a man, woman or person, it doesn't matter. They're just doing their job, and as far as you're concerned, you've committed a breach of the peace, or you put somebody in a state of fear, alarm and distress. Don't do that. Keep it cool, people.
I think the most important thing here to remember, Robert, is when they're in that uniform, they're under oath as a constable. When they're out of that uniform, they're a man or a woman.
Exactly, they've got a family.
They've got families, they've got mortgages to pay, they've got bills to pay. And trust us, see what's going to be coming soon. We need these good
We need to get them on side.
on our side.
Exactly.
We need these movements that we're in. At some point in time, these constables will realise, because everybody's been fooled, and we realise that. We understand that, we comprehend that. And at some point, some of these constables will as well, and they'll probably down tools and say, no, we're stopping this. We need them on our side.
Exactly.
Because these people are people. They're no constables. Now, what I witnessed that day was when you had finished speaking to everybody and the constable thanked you for explaining what the banner was, she went, no, I'm really satisfied with that, thanks very much, and everything was fine. And I seen two guys in the corner, and they were saying, bye-bye, bye-bye, and they were
mocking them,
being really pedantic about it. And I thought to myself, there's you of when you've tried to calm a situation, because, and ultimately these two guys just wanted the banner to be left there, which it was. So why were they doing that? They were trying to cause a controversy, and they were trying to mock the police. Remember, that's somebody's wife, that's right. Somebody's daughter, that's somebody's aunt.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean? Don't do that to people. It's disrespectful. And the most important thing, you're not standing in honour, and we comprehend that the two elements of standing under common law is to stand in honour.
And no controversy.
And no controversy. And it's as simple as that, and that's what we need to stick to. So anyway, some of the other stuff here, and the oath is with fairness. A lot of constables are fair enough. The ones we dealt with on Saturday, October the 8th, she was really fair. Integrity, well, she did have a lot of integrity. She didn't rush in there. She wasn't trying to kind of bully her way out of a situation or anything. Diligence, she knew what she was all about. Impartiality, she just wanted to speak to the people. And she did uphold the fundamental rights. Because
the banner was left.
The banner was left because and that's an important thing.
That's what
she recognised straight away that, you know what, you have got your rights to do this, and I don't have any authority or jurisdiction to tell you otherwise. So right. I take my hat off to her, to be honest.
Definitely.
And there was equal respect to everybody. The thing it let us down with the two guys, the two men who were just acting.
Could have got themselves in jail with other people. What people don't realise when they start doing things like controversy, shouting in their face, right? Now, the position I was put in yesterday, I was standing waiting to speak at the bottom of the stairs, and people started shouting at me for help, assistance.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get involved in that, but if I wouldn't get involved in that, people would say, that's bad news, he's supposed to be there for the people. So I had to put myself in a position. I didn't know what the argument was about. I had an idea it was about the banner, but the way they were being aggressive upstairs, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I went up there, I put myself in the chopping block to stand up for the people and try and pacify the situation.
Yep.
But these people don't realise the consequences of their actions on other people that's trying to sort out a problem. If they're getting possibly locked up, I'm getting dragged in as well, because I shouldn't be there to stick my nose into their problem.
Yep.
I'm only trying to do good and keep them in honour. So I was put in a position I didn't really want to be in, but I felt that I had to do what I had to do because I've got knowledge to deal with the situation.
Because you're the common law man who speaks about common law, educates a lot of people in Glasgow, well, or the UK, and in some cases America, Canada. There's a lot of followers there all over the world. And I didn't know you were up there. I was standing down at the bottom of the stairs. I had just come back for putting something in the bin. And I says, where's Robert? And he says, he's up there. Something happening up there. And of course, I'm going to go up there and just stand and observe what's happening with you. Because even though there's loads of cameras there, I still need to stand and observe. Because if they try to do something unlawful to you, then I need to witness that. And then I need to hold them to account there and then. You know, tell them that they've been put on their oath. I'm witnessing an unlawful arrest here or whatever, you know,
right.
and then hold them to that. So that's the reason I come up. And again, I didn't want to be part of it, and that's how I witnessed the behaviour after it. And I thought, well, you've put your neck in the line, you've piecified things, and then there's people just causing it, and it's no fair. So I think we've went into enough detail about this. I hope this has helped people.
There's one thing that I want to say as well, right? Just at the end, it's important. It says Schedule 1, Paragraph 1 provides restrictions on the private life of constables. It clearly states a constable must at all times abstain from any activity which is likely to interfere with the impartial discharge of a constable's duty, or which is likely to give rise to impression amongst members of the public that is may so interfere, and in particular, a constable must not take active part in politics. This is the bit I want to explain, people. It's important. When they start statutes and acts, they're involving themselves in politics. And the Scottish Government have manipulated the way they do it. That's why you've got constable and officer. That's what I want to say, people. They're interfering in politics, and they shouldn't be, because that's not their job. Their job is to uphold the law, common law, protect and serve. Anyway, people, I'd like to thank you for taking time to watch this video. I would like you to share this video. I'd like to thank the production team for making this happen again. We've been off for a wee while, but things going on. Ritchie's got job commitments. I've got things going on. And I think Ritchie would like to thank you as well.
Aye, without a doubt. I mean, it's always good to be sitting here talking to you about us getting this information out. This is simply just to give people facts. These are all facts that we were speaking about here. As you say yourself, Robert, it's always in private capacity under full personal liability. And even more important, under a charge of perjury. So that tells me it's facts we're putting out here.
That's a big statement to make, mate. You're up against a false system.
Yep.
The other thing I would like to say before we finish, Ritchie, it's important that the people, when you interact with these people with green jackets or green vests, if you ask them, there's a lot of trickery goes on people. If you ask them if they're on their oath as a constable, they'll say aye. But unless you know the language, they're going to change your status and catch you in illegal. So be careful. When they're wearing green jackets or vests, they're in capacity as officer. Doesn't matter if they say they're a constable. They're in capacity officer because their uniform is black.
Yep.
And even with the black uniforms, they can still do the same thing. Legalese, dog lacking, and it's all trickery to get you into the legal system, to extort money.
Yep. So thanks to everybody for watching, really appreciate it. We always like to hear your comments. If you've got comments, put them in the box. As we say, there's no egos here. This is simply just two men
the people
trying to get these facts out to the people and hope that the people take them in. Now, at some point in the video I did say, please pause the video and go and check some things out. Even on the constable's oath, all these words, go and check them out in the dictionary. I mean, it's no silly for adults to do that, do you know what I mean? Because what I find is every day is a learning process, and I hope that everybody else is having a learning process through these videos as well.
Definitely.
So thanks very much. Really appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time and letting us be heard.
Thank you.